on the board that's somewhat competitive. You don't want to be putting in a 201.2 or anything like that, because that's going to hurt your confidence. You want to put in a somewhat competitive, safe lap time. We were seeing 132s, I think, early on in the session yesterday. Go for something like that. Just mid 132s, just get a time on the board.
Absolutely. Get that banker lap on board, and let's see that green delta time as you get faster and faster throughout that session. We saw Jonas Rutten there making his way through turn 22, onwards now towards turn 23, just trying to find some space out there on this street circuit. And the moment you try and put finding the space and qualifying together, you've already got yourself quite a precarious session ahead.
That's right, and we learned yesterday, actually, because of course this is very new to the drivers and to us as commentators, this Hanoi Street Circuit. We learned really the best place to deal with traffic is, unsurprisingly, on the straights, though, on the rundown towards turn 6 and the rundown towards turn 11. Those are the two places, if you got a fast car coming up behind you, to get out of the way. Because after turn 13, it gets really, really difficult to stay out of the way for any cars that might be coming up behind you. So, yeah, you really got to be careful when it comes to this circuit. You got to just make sure that you're not getting in anybody's way. As we kind of touched on this yesterday, because you got to go wheel to wheel with these guys. That you want them to respect you and like you and all of that kind of stuff. At the end, they're competitors. You got to beat them. You don't have to be best friends with them, but also you do need their respect.
You do indeed. And of course, top 6 at the end of the 5 months we've got up ahead of us will decide who will make it to that next stage of the competition, that next step to try and get themselves into the pro draft. And just when you think teams might not be watching, trust me, they are. They're watching all the way down here. They're watching to see how you coped with adversity, how you coped with a race not quite going your way, as Owen goes top of the table then with that low 132 time. And of course, we're hoping they get a lot quicker as well. Saita there in second place, Antoine third, Hooperlicious in fourth. Here comes Jonas then across the line. He puts it onto the front row of the grid, 32.6. And of course, we know, Justin, yesterday they were lapping in the low 32s. Then we just got someone straight into the 131s, and they just kept getting quicker and quicker all the way through.
Yeah, and we're not going to see exactly the same times. I touched on this briefly yesterday. Again, it's early in the season for this brand new season of F1 Esports Series Challengers. So I just want to clarify anything things for some new people who might be just coming around. I apologize for you veterans out there that have to hear this multiple times, but there are slight differences between the platforms. You're not going to see exactly the same lap times in qualifying. You're not going to see the exact same race time at the end of the race. But again, once you get these guys all in the same platform in the Pro Series together, we find that there is essentially zero difference between any of the platforms when it comes to the amount of pace that they have. So you might see some small differences in the lap times here. We don't have anybody dipping into the 131s yet, but again, that means absolutely nothing about these guys' pace. It's just minor differences between the platforms. We'll see the same thing tomorrow with the PC side.
We will indeed. We're riding aboard here with Sam McCabe as he negotiates his way through on towards turn 9 and now onto this long straight. We heard there 1.6 kilometers. You're on the throttle here as you find your way through turn 10 and trying to keep your steering as light as possible through here to scrub off the least amount of speed as we make our way down towards turn 11. And it's this straight here down towards the breaker zone into turn 11 that's the prime overtaking opportunity. You've got that DRS once you pass lap 3 to try and make a move down the inside, or as we've seen before, around the outside. But it is that straight and that turn in particular, Justin, that makes you realise and makes you have to think hard about how do you set this car up? Do you try and go for that straight line speed, or do you prioritise what this AlphaTauri is going to come up with next? Is this long S section? It snakes on and it feels like it just goes on left after right after left after right.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. And we did see yesterday some people getting caught out. They just couldn't make the overtake, because the car ahead was getting the DRS and the slipstream from the car ahead of them as well. So we saw some people kind of get stuck in traffic a little bit, which, that happens in racing. That's motorsport. But yeah, you really got to choose how you're going to set up the car based on where you're expecting to start, which can make things kind of difficult, because certainly if you expect to be near the front, and then in qualifying, things don't pan out that way, and your setup is entirely focused on having high downforce and not needing to make many overtakes, then that could really compromise you in the race. And you got to think about that kind of stuff, and that sort of thing is going to benefit the certain people, of course. At the moment, though, by the way, Awen with the 3/10 fastest lap up on Jonas. That is really impressive stuff. Again, we're not down into the 131s yet, but that 3/10 gap, that's impressive no matter what platform you're on.
And as you touched on yesterday, Justin, we've got that track evolution. So the track, as long as it stays dry, gets quicker and quicker throughout the session. So expect those lap times to get closer and closer to the 31s, maybe even breaking into them as well, as Ewan Lanauer tops the timing sheets so far with that time at the top of the table. We're riding on board then with Caden Lutt as he makes his way now down towards turn 11, this heavy braking zone to the left, and it's almost like almost a hairpin. It's not quite a hairpin by total definition, but it might as well be one with the amount of braking force you need down in towards turn 11 there.
Yeah, really heavy braking zone, as Alex Albon touched on in the hot lap as well. Just touched on just how heavy of a braking zone that really is. Caden as well is another somewhat of a veteran. He hasn't been around quite as long as Brown, LVA Brown, for example, but he's somebody that we're very familiar with at this point, and certainly I have high expectations of him. There we go, second quickest time, the only other person to get into the 132.3s. What is that, 4/10 of a second slower than Awen was able to manage to do. So yeah, very quick time from Lutt, but again, I do expect that from him. What he struggled with in the past was consistency, which is something we've touched on too. All these guys are going to be looking to be consistently fast. That goes without saying. But Lutt is someone that we know is quick. He just needs to find that consistency.
Yeah. Consistently quick and quickly consistent. That's
exactly.
For making a good driver here is left in here. That's Connor Muir, who gets his way onto the second row of the grid, fourth place at the moment with a 32.6. Over 8.5 minutes left to go, and there is Leroy Brown then in that McLaren, winding up and ready to go for a flying lap through turn 23, flirting with that wall on the right hand side. You get right up and close and personal with it, but you want to try and use as much of the track as possible. Again, Brown getting right up and close and personal with the wall on the right hand side going into turn 1. Then of course the stewards will be looking at this line in particular on the outside of turns 2 and 3 there. You go over that just too much, you will be punished for that one. But Leroy Brown then making his way now up towards turn 6, and it's almost like this roundabout section where you have to go all the way around, and it's like you've taken a wrong turn somewhere. You go in towards this chicane here, then you're looping back on yourself, and you say, actually, I want to go down this long straight down towards turn 10 to that heavy braking zone of turn 11, and it's almost like you want to try and have as low drag as possible down this bit. Then you've got that high-speed S section from turn 13 all the way to the braking zone in towards turn 22 as Hooperlicious goes top of the table, 32.370, and that is Jaden Munoz in the Racing Point, putting it now on provisional pole position.
That's impressive stuff, and only 9/1000ths of a second separating the top three. There was pretty large gaps, though, between their times being set, so that's even more surprising, if I'm honest. But Brown on for a good lap here. He's getting into the squiggly part of the lap, which means he's going to be bringing this one to an end pretty soon here in the McLaren. Currently sitting on a 32.6, much like several other people in this qualifying session. 5 people in the 32.6s as it stands right now. Through the penultimate corner, into the final corner, just lifting off the throttle, getting back onto it now across the line, and it is quickest, but it's another 32.3. He becomes the 4th driver to put it into that section of the timing. So yeah, really close we're seeing now.
Yeah, really close between all of them. It really does sort of suggest that you can't make those mistakes out there, otherwise you could be punished. There is Antoine Desaluski making his way now on towards the back straight. You could technically call this the back straight as we make our way now through in towards turn 10, but he hasn't got his DRS open just yet, of course. It's much further down this long back straight. There it is. It's almost sort of halfway down the straight. So it tries and minimises the time you have that DRS open. But when you're going hurtling towards turn 11, that DRS is open for quite some time, Justin, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, and it used to be open for even longer, I think, at one point. And they actually shortened it just because of how powerful the DRS was on that straight. And yeah, I wanted to touch on that turn 7 and 8 that you were talking about as well, too, because we saw the great battling there, too, because you have that nice long run down towards turn 6 as well. So you can make overtakes, you could go side by side. We saw Gil going side by side yesterday. That was one of the highlights of the race for me personally, getting to see them go side by side through that section. So Definitely a big fan of that circuit, of that part of the circuit, getting into the braking zone of turn 6 and then going all the way around. Weirdly, it promotes side by side battling, which is not something I would have expected exactly. But with such a long corner, it's difficult usually to stay side by side with another car. But we saw quite a bit of it yesterday, and I am really hoping to see more of that sort of stuff today. We've got just over 5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session, though, so people should be wrapping up their second runs now and then starting to prepare for their final attempts.
Yeah, and you would think here, 5 minutes to go. You've got 92 seconds roundabout that you can get a flying lap in. That's not including your out lap and then the in lap to make it back to the pit lane. So you're cutting it fine if you're starting a lap right now, but that's no problem for Erwan Lanauer. He's now on a flying lap, making his way down towards turn 1, third in the standing so far, and that 32.375. He was on provisional pole position a couple of minutes ago, but of course someone set a lap time that's 600ths of a second quicker and now gets that provisional pole position. So it just shows you that track evolution is going to be prime. You want to be the last person across the line before the checkered flag falls to take full advantage of what, in theory, should be the best circuit to drive on.
Yeah, a fantastic circuit. Ewan doing, or excuse me, Ewan. That's a big moment there, coming out of turn 8 and through turn 9, just losing the back end, making contact with the barrier. And he's going to be looking, he's got plenty of time though. He can get back into the pits, put on a fresh set of tires, get back out there for one final attempt. So that's good.
Yeah, and I think as well, he was going to cut it fine if he finished off this lap anyway. Yeah. So I think this could be a blessing in disguise for Erwan, as he has to come back to the pit lane then. There's Jaden Munoz, Hooperlicious, now on an out lap. 32.3 from him so far. He'll be looking to try and get into those 32.2s. Is it going to be his night to get it onto pole position? Well, he's got Leroy Brown at the moment, who is on a provisional pole position. Just over 3.5 minutes to go in this session, and it is Brown on top, Hooperlicious second. Erwan is in third with Lutz in fourth, Sam McCabe in fifth, Antoine sixth, Jonas in seventh, Lefted in eighth, Saiter in ninth place, and Pinecone rounds out the top 10. And there is Lutz then, 32 flat from Lutz there, puts him now onto the top of the standings. Caden Lutz in the Haas on top. And wow, that's some time compared to everybody else he's found there. Now, is that track evolution, or has he just found a line that works?
I'm going to go with a bit from column A and a bit from column B. I think that, yeah, that's a combination of things. I think Lut found some speed there, and also just the track evolution helping a little bit as well. Hooperlicious, though, in the racing point, he's going to be looking, he's definitely one of the contenders as well. Again, he's got that 32.3 on the board already, and that's going to be, you know, that goes back to the confidence thing that I've talked about previously. He's going to feel good on this lap going into it, knowing he's already got a top 5 time. It's going to be difficult, I think, for a lot of these drivers to match that 32.3, even on their final runs, with the rubbered-in track and all of that kind of stuff. So he's got that confidence. He can feel good about this lap. He can push that little bit extra harder. He does still want to avoid any sort of mistakes or anything like that. So he's going to be slightly cautious, but he's going to be throwing a little bit of caution to the wind on this final attempt and just see if he can get himself onto the front row, give himself the best opportunity for tomorrow's race, well, today's race, actually, I should say, but the upcoming race after this event. Only 2 minutes to go, so this is definitely going to be his final attempt. He does not have enough time to get back, swap tires, and get back out again.
Yeah, as we just see then, under the radar, Conor Muir gets himself a 32.2, which puts him onto the front row of the grid in that Ferrari, riding on board now with Hooperlicious as he now rounds his way in towards the final couple of corners, onwards towards the final corner in turn 23. Flirt with that wall on the right-hand side if you dare, as he makes his way across the start-finish line. Is this going to be an improvement? I don't think it was. As Conor Muir retires from the session, he realises there's not enough time to carry on and take another lap, so he has retired no higher than the first row of the grid, second place to be more precise. That means Lutt then hasn't made it out onto the circuit, so don't expect a quicker lap time from him. So for Jonas, for Brown, possibly for Hooperlicious, he's got his DRS open. I wonder actually if he backed out of that original lap to make sure he makes sure that this lap is the one that he wants. Clenzo here, currently in 9th place at the moment in that Williams, now makes his way down towards turn 11 as we see Jonas there retiring from the session. 3rd place from him, so that's a chance for Brown, Hoopalicious, L1 to try and get themselves up the order as well. Let's see what Clenzo can do then as he makes his way through turn 12. Now onwards we go towards that braking zone of turn 13, turning right there as you now make your way towards that S section. 14, 15, 16, they come at you quicker than you can count them all the way through. Now this long left-hander through the long right-hander of turn 20 and 21, then you make your way towards that heavy brake zone of turn 22. There's Antoine, who's now out on circuit, making sure he wants to get a lap time on the board quicker than his 32.5 at this moment in time. Clenzo must not have had a happy lap there. He's retired it. 32.6 from him, still in the top 10 for now, but he would have wanted a quicker lap time and maybe some fresher tyres to boot as well. Antoine now making his way in through turns 11 and 12 as onwards we go. Less than 10 seconds to go in this session. Then Lut is out there actually, so it's gone to an outlet. Whether he can make it towards the line before the checker flag falls, I'm not entirely sure. However, Antoine then makes his way now all the way through this looping S section now, making sure you can try and hang on to as much grip as you possibly can. The Red Bull here trying to find all that grip out there, making his way now through 22 and onwards now towards turn 23. Slight clouds of the wall in 22, and that might have just cost him a time there, a really competitive time. He backs out of that lap just to make sure so, and unfortunately it's no improvement for him. We have Oates then making his way on towards the straight then towards turn 6. Zach Oates is hoping to get into that top 10. 32.9 from him so far, as Lut is the first one to take the checkered flag. So that is his session over and done with. He's on provisional pole, didn't get an improvement, and Oates there spinning it around and lighting up those rear tyres in frustration. No improvement from that Mercedes driver, and he will have to he'll have to cope now with P13 in this race. No improvement then in the top 5. It just leaves Ewan and Pinecone maybe to have a chance. Here comes Sam McCabe, a little bit of a kiss on the wall. He puts it onto the front row of the grid. 32.1 from Sam McCabe onto the front row of the grid. 12th place there goes John Evans in the McLaren HX4K. We'll just call him John for now. He puts it into 12th place, an improvement for him, but that will be qualifying pretty much over and done with. We've got, of course, Findeum, who is out there right now. We're not quite sure where he is. Oh, there he is. He's making his way towards the line. Is this an improvement? Yes, he gets 10th place then. So that's an improvement for Findeum. He puts it into the top 10, but Lut is going to be your pole position man. 32 flat is enough to grab pole position for this very first Challengers race on Xbox.
I'm surprised by that one. What I'm really surprised about mostly, though, is how few people improved on their final runs. It seems a lot of possibly mistakes. You know, of course, we didn't see all the laps. We can only hypothesize on this kind of thing, but I am surprised that so few people actually improved on their final lap. I thought for sure we were going to see somebody break into the 31s and at least take the fight to Lut.
Yeah, and obviously when you're pushing that hard, it's so easy to make those mistakes and you'll kick yourself afterwards. But there is your top 14 there you can see. Lut does grab pole position then ahead of Sam McCabe. Left it in 3rd, Jonas in 4th, Brown in 5th with Hoopalicious in 6th. Ewan is in 7th, Pinecone 8th, Antoine in 9th, and Findeum rounds out the top 10. And of course, those drivers will have to start on the tyre they set their fastest lap on in that qualifying session, half a second covering the top 10. Clenzo in 11th, Saiter in 12th, with John Evans in 13th, Burraps in 14th place, Oates in 15th, and Ken there is in 16th place. I don't think that's a representative lap time, but interestingly then, John Evans in 13th place, 5-place grid penalty, so he will be starting from the back of the grid.
Yeah, that's going to hurt as well, especially here. I would say not quite as damaging of a penalty if it had happened in China, but here at Hanoi, I think that's gonna hurt starting from the back. Now he can do that alternate strategy though. We saw the alternate strategy can be quite beneficial yesterday, so he's very likely going to be starting on the medium tires, going for something a little bit different, as you would expect every driver, if we're honest, outside of the top 10.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption to make. We did see similar in the race last night on the PS4 side. We saw then that the top 10 had to start, of course, on those soft tyres. They'd set their fastest lap on them in qualifying, so they had to start on them. They were locked into that tyre for the race start. But yeah, we did see outside of the top 10, though, completely different story. It can sometimes be a story where 11th place isn't such a bad place to be. It's the first place outside of the top 10, which is quite far down, but then you realise you get a free choice of tyre and a free choice of fresh tyre. Could 11th place be a talking point in this race compared to P10?
Definitely. I think, especially with the just the single stop, 25. It's 25% distance, so it's just one stop. So it's more about when you pit, not how you pit. And there's going to be essentially two strategies: start on the medium, switch to the soft; start on the soft, switch to the medium, and then you kind of choose when you come into the pits. And it's going to come down to also, can you pit into the right area? Can you get that clean air? Oh, we're going racing already.
We're going racing. We're not hanging around. It is 5 red lights. And we're racing in Hanoi. What are the starts like? And Lutt gets a fantastic start off the line. Look at the Mercedes in the background. That's Oates, who got himself a good launch as well. Piling our way now in towards turn 1. Lutt just about keeps his nose clean. Sam McCabe, though, is on the charge as he tries to find his way through. Jonas gets himself up a position as well. He's up into 3rd place ahead of Conor Muir as we make our way now, snaking our way through turn 6, riding on board now with the Ferrari of Conor Muir. He's now trying to chase down Jonas. Jonas had a brilliant start off the line there. He's now up into 3rd place as we now make our way on towards that heavy braking zone. In towards turn 6 we go, and the Ferrari there, 4th place right now, but a good start from Lutt. He's already 0.8 of a second up the road and trying to break that ERS, or that DRS zone, I should say, of 1 second to try and get himself the best chance of pulling away. Hoopalicious 5th, Brown in 6th, Antoine 7th, Ewan in 8th, Pineco 9th, Clenzo rounding up the top 10. He's under pressure from Findeum for that last points paying position. Oates in 12th, Saita in 13th, Burraps in 14th, John Evans in 15th, and Ken is rounding out the top 16. Here comes Findeum, though. Round the outside we go. He's on the outside of Clenzo in towards 11. He's going to find himself onto that curb. Can he get the better traction out of the corner? He's not going to have a lot of room. He gets up and close and personal with that right-hand side wall. He says hello and says goodbye to Clenzo. He's got that move done as we now make our way through. And yet there's no way through for Clenzo. Nice move from Findeum, and it puts him into the top 10.
Yeah, you're really not going to be going side by side through this section. So Findeum just grabbing that optimal line, grabbing that final points paying position along with it. He'll be happy to be up into 10th, but he misses his apex, something fierce through that penultimate corner. Lutt picking up the fastest lap. He hasn't been able to break that DRS or that slipstream range really that he needs from Sam McCabe. So honestly, if I were him or if I were his race engineer, I'd tell him to calm it down, save those tires, make sure he's not burning these things up. He's going to need them to be in the best possible condition that he can manage, as we can see. Oh, what's happened to Lutt?
What has happened to Lutt? He's fallen all the way now down to 10th place. He looked pretty comfortable at the top of the standings there. But now it's fallen all the way down to that last points paying position. We saw there Oates getting a move on Clenzo, but as you rightly said there, Justin, what has happened to Lutt?
He's still going. He doesn't have massive damage. He's down to 10th position. In fact, he's the next car up the road from Oates here, who we're having a look at. So he's still going. He's not, you can see everything looks okay. Does he have front wing damage? He'll slam on the brakes a lot earlier than everyone else if he's missing his front wing or anything like that. But I haven't noticed any major damage on the Haas of Lutt. Let's see as he gets down into turn 11. Nope. Normal braking location, everything like that. Yeah, that's a strange one.
It is a strange one. We'll know for sure coming up to the S section, which is what Jonas is coming up to now as he tries to chase down Sam McCabe as we tackle this snaking S section for the first time in this race as we now round our way through. Onwards we go, and you can see the Red Bull there trying to keep up with that Alpha Tauri ahead of him, riding on board then with Jonas Rutten as he now makes his way in towards 22, slightly misses that apex, a little bit of a lock-up. That might cost him on corner exit there, but making our way through turn 23, and there you can see lots of fastest laps being posted on the board there. They're all flying now at this moment in time as we complete lap 1 of this race, and Sam McCabe has got some defending to do, hasn't he? He's got Jonas behind him, but you've also got Conor Moore there in third place, Brown in 4th, Antoine 5th, Hoopalicious is in 6th, Ewan in 7th, Pinecone 8th, Findeum in 9th, and Lutt rounds out the top 10. Just a lap ago, he was leading this whole race, so it's really unfortunate to see. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see what has happened to him, but he must have made a mistake because he was so comfortable leading this race.
Yeah, he had a pretty good gap to McCabe as well. So yeah, I think it's unlikely that McCabe forced a move and bumped him off the track or anything like that. And again, he's doing well in that 10th place position. In fact, he just overtook Findeum along with Pinecone. Both the CRG guys moving up a position on Findeum. So that indicates to me that he's got good pace, which means he probably doesn't have much damage. But here we go. Jonas, for the lead of the race, going to try it around the outside into the hairpin. Can't quite make it work. Switchback maneuver, though, works a treat for the Red Bull. He's up into the lead, and McCabe actually drops to third.
Yeah, nice move there in the end from Rutten. He managed to time that perfectly, positioned the car perfectly as well, knew exactly what McCabe was going to do, and just exploited it. Really nice stuff there. And it looks like Conor Muir managed to take advantage of that as well, because now he is up into second place. Sam McCabe finds himself down into third place. And if there's one McLaren you don't want chasing you, it's Leroy Brown. He will put you under pressure, and he will penalise any mistake you make. It's all about trying to keep him at a distance as we now make our way through the final corner. Hoopalicious is into the pit lane. That's Jaden Munoz who makes the early stop. You probably saw the PS4 race last time out and saw that the early stops were possibly a good move to go for. We did see last night how early these guys stopped, and Sam McCabe's made a huge mistake there in towards turns 1 and 2. That is something you do not offer to Brown there. He will capitalise on that one. Can he try and capitalise up towards turn 6? I think for the moment, for the time being, Sam McCabe has gone away with it, but we've got Ken, who is unfortunately out of this race, down in 15th place, so he will take no further part in this race on the streets of Hanoi.
That's unfortunate, but yeah, I think you called it here. I think Sam McCabe is going to be a sitting duck for Leroy Brown now, especially on this straight. You can see a few car lengths back, but already getting a lot closer. Still a long way to go. We're only now turning right, already alongside. Still not even close to the braking zone. Already passed into third position for Leroy Brown. Oh, but he's coming back at him. The Alpha Tauri going up the inside. Gives it a shot. I admire it. Didn't quite work out for him, and unfortunately, it's built an even bigger gap to the top two now.
Oh, absolutely, as we see there. Oh, that's a bit of contact. I think that's Sam McCabe and Antoine.
Oh, no.
Now, this is somewhere you don't want to be going side by side. Oh, no, they've made contact. That's Sam McCabe who finds himself into the wall, and at the worst possible place to go side by side. The Alpha Tauri clouts the wall on the right-hand side. Front wing damage as he now tries to get back to the pit lane. Lots of drivers coming in. It's not the worst time to pick up damage because it's sort of when that pit window opens. It looks like Antoine, though, I think he's got away with no damage whatsoever, but I will not be surprised to see that go to the stewards.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did see, by the way, just a reminder for anybody that missed out yesterday or who forgot from yesterday, we did see the overcut work. So if VSR Antoine, who we're on board with right now, this Red Bull, if he has managed to take care of those soft tires, then he could potentially make some overtakes just by staying out this extra lap and getting some clean air, because of course you do lose quite a bit of time by being behind a car in Sector 3. You do also lose quite a bit of time by not having a car ahead of you for this part of the track that we're about to come up to now. So, you know, it's a pro and con sort of thing, but it could end up paying dividends for him. So definitely keep an eye on where Antoine comes out. Lut as well, Pinecone, that could be the opportunity that these guys need.
Absolutely, and you can see there Brown making that stop then. So Jonas, one of the first to stop. He is out there, and you can see now we're going side by side. There is Latu, had that disaster start, but now he's found himself back into the lead of this race, and now he'll be wanting to try and see when should he pit. He's in one of those scenarios now where he would have been leading this race, he would have been in control at this point. Now he finds himself on the back foot, and Justin, is that the opportunity to try something different?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. I mean, he's going to want to, you know, try something different, but not do something stupid either. He's going to want to make sure that he gets a good result here. But he is now the leading of the soft runners that have stayed out. All three of them are coming in, Lut, Antoine, and Pinecone. They were the three remaining soft runners, and they have all come in at the end of this lap. So that means the medium runners will take over. Oates should be the leading medium runner, so he should take the lead of the race momentarily. And I would expect the medium runners, actually, to start coming in. And in fact, Chandler Saita, that's a very aggressive stop for Chandler Saita. I believe he started on the mediums. He's going to be switching on to the softs. And that's pretty early, though. That's 9 laps he would have to do on softs, if that's correct. So, ooh, I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for him, but he thinks he's up to the challenge. He wanted to come in here and see how he fared against some of the fastest drivers out there, see if he can get some consistent points on the board. And there you can see Lutt has rejoined ahead of Brown, so that was a huge move then from the Haas driver to extend that stint. He's rejoined back ahead of Brown, so he's found his way up a couple of positions actually in all of that. And remember, I do believe that Oates and Clenzo still have to pit in. They started on those medium tyres. They still have to come into the pit. So realistically now we're seeing Lutt in 4th place. What a strategy that has been.
Yeah, that's worked out pretty well for him, I have to say. And I have confirmed Chandler Saita is indeed on the soft compound tires, and he did indeed pit at the end of lap 5. So a 9-lap stint on softs, I think, is marginally longer than what we would have seen as the longest soft stint yesterday on the PS4 side. But again, this goes back to what I touched on earlier. You are going to see minor differences from platform to platform. Might be one of those things where Chandler Saita on the Xbox platform, he's able to do 9 laps on a set of softs with low fuel anyway at the end of the race. We'll have to wait and see how that works for him.
Yeah, that's Hoopalicious who's got the move done on Antoine going in towards turn 11. And so now Jamie Munoz gets the position on Antoine and gets the position up the field. Oates and Clenzo both into the pit lane then to change on to what will be a set of soft tyres for the remaining 8 laps of this race. They'll soon cross the line to start lap 7. We're not at the halfway point yet. We've got 8 laps to go, 7 and a bit if you are picky. And Jonas will take the lead of this race once again. Lefted is in 2nd place, Ewan in 3rd, Lutt in 4th. Is a question I have to ask you, Justin. Lutt, right now, 4th place. He had that moment, went down to 10th place. He could still win this one, couldn't he?
He could. I'd say a podium is more likely, though. And he's got the confidence, you know. And again, he didn't have massive damage. It seemed that he just lost time. Whatever that incident was early in the race for Caden Lutt, it seems to have only lost him a bit of time on the track. It didn't cost him any sort of carbon fiber. It didn't flat spot his tire massively. Again, you know, we didn't see exactly what it was, but it seems to have not been a massive issue. Here's a replay from lap 6. This is going side by side into that hairpin. The Red Bull and the Racing Point Red Bull on the outside. VSR Antoine can't quite make it work. Difficult to hang around the outside there, especially because you have that left-hand kink after the hairpin as well. But the Racing Point making that work. Hoopalicious. Oh, they're going side by side again, though.
No, this is not a reverse angle. That is live, and Antoine gets the move done this time around. Got that move done a lot earlier as we cut back to the live feed, and he does eventually find his way past Hoopalicious there, now into 11th place. He's now 1.4 behind Clenzo, and of course, it's vital that these drivers try and get those top 10 positions. If it hasn't been a race that goes their own way, points will more than make up for it.
Yeah, points are going to be absolutely crucial here, no doubt about it. Antoine lost a lot of time, actually, to Clenzo through all of that battling. He's now 1.6 seconds outside, away from that points-paying position of 10th. You can see in the background there, the Ferrari of Pinecone going side by side with Oates on the start-finish straight down towards turn 1. Which one's going to come out on top? It looks like it might be the Mercedes, but you get the inside line for the second corner if you're on the outside for the first corner. Oates actually does come out ahead of Pinecone. Findayam also finds a way by in the other Mercedes. Oh, the back end stepping out in a big way for Pinecone, and that's going to be an open invitation for Chandler Saita, who is again, remember, on the soft compound tires. Is he the leading? No, Oates is the leading soft runner, so just keep that in mind for the viewers at home. Oates is the leading soft runner, with Saita just ahead of Pinecone now also on the softs.
Yeah, Saita just about made that one stick. He's now up to 8th place, flying now on those soft tyres. He's now got Findayam right ahead of him with that DRS, and we were almost going 3 wide, entering in towards turn 6, but thankfully they had the sense there and the wherewithal to not do it. We're about to see 2 moves, are we? We're going to see Saita try and challenge Findayam down in towards turn 11. We're also going to see Clenzo try and move on Pinecone down the inside, also on these soft tyres. A little bit of a traffic jam on the streets of Hanoi, but Clenzo gets the move done. Saita also gets the move done on Findayam there. 2 moves for the price of 1.
Lovely stuff. Fantastic racing, actually, we're seeing. And once again, I mean, it may just be a feature of the circuit, but not a lot of penalties. In fact, no penalties. I don't know how many warnings these drivers are on. For all I know, every single one of them is sitting on 2 warnings right now and just on their absolute best behavior. For those at home, Colenso trying it up the inside on the Mercedes. Vendeham leaves the space as well at the inside. That was through the penultimate corner, through the final corner. DRS opens for the Mercedes of Vendeham. That should keep him safe from Colenso behind in the Williams. He's not going to be able... Is he? He's going to send it up the inside into turn 1. Goes very, very deep. That was opportunistic, but he somehow managed to make that work.
And we've got Pinecone as well, who's trying to make a move on Colenso as we now make our way in towards turns 4, 5, and now on towards that short straight. Up we go towards turn 6. Is this going to be a chance for Pinecone to try and get back at Colenso? We've got Colenso, who's on the soft tyres. He's made that move on the Ferrari and now has found himself clear as we now make our way in towards that chicane. But at the moment, it's all looking like the soft tyre runners right now are looking to just try and get as much pace out of these tyres as possible, which could be a downfall come the final 2-3 laps of this race. They've got to treat their tyres as well. They've got to try and get them to the end of the race. We've got Pinecone trying to break away. Vendeham, Antoine and Hooperlicious are about to do battle as we make our way down towards turn 11. Hooperlicious is on the inside line. He's going to try and outbrake the Red Bull. The Red Bull has the Mercedes right in front of him. Little bit of contact heading our way in through turn 11 and turn 12. They're still side by side, the Red Bull and the Racing Point. Up we go towards turn 13. Antoine this time has the inside line. Little bit of a lock up there, and there's nowhere else to go for Hooperlicious other than to back out of that move. Antoine holds on to that one, but he's lost a lot of time to Vendeham ahead.
Incredible stuff. Another fantastic dogfight that we're seeing. Just loving the side-by-side action that this grid of drivers is producing for us. We do have Antoine under investigation for causing a collision, by the way. I'm waiting for a bit of clarification on which incident that was. I think that might have been going into the S section in Sector 3 when we saw that collision there. But we'll get further information about that. Again, only under investigation for now. No penalty just yet.
Yeah, and I'm sure the stewards will keep us up to date with whatever details they can provide us. But at the moment, we're on lap 10. We've got 5 to go, 4 and a bit if you're picky. Jonas actually 2.2 ahead of Lefted. Now, sometimes you get those moments when you're leading a race where if we don't see you a lot, it's normally a good sign. Colenso having a once, twice, 3 times a think about a move up the inside, but in the end, he decides against a move up the inside of Chandler Saiter there. But he's staying on the back of him now. I think I know why, because he wants this lovely long bit of DRS, long bit of slipstream to make sure he can try and find that move as much as possible. Bit of technical difficulties here, but we'll get you back with that action as soon as we possibly can. But at the moment, Justin, it looks like now Jonas is leading the way 2.3 seconds ahead of Lefted. Lutt, though, still in that 3rd place spot. He's looking like he could try and get this one.
Yeah, I have to say, though, Oates, again, in 6th position, the leading soft runner as it stands right now as we approach the end of this race. It's going to be really interesting to see what he can do on those soft compound tires, and if he can make some more moves on the medium runners. We're just waiting to get information about what's going on at the moment, but yeah, really interested in that. Just a small statistic for anybody, and this is more for me, if I'm honest, Kieran, but 3 American drivers on this grid is, I think, a record for my nation when it comes to F1 Esports, especially the F1 Esports Series Challengers. I don't think we've ever had that many Americans in it before, on a single platform too, like this. That's pretty incredible stuff. I'm really proud, though, to see how they're hanging in there and keeping up with the European drivers, because it is typically, very European sort of dominated.
It is, yeah, and normally when you come across F1 Esports, you see a lot of those European nations, so it's great to see that over the pond you've got the Americans trying their hand as well and showing us that they've got some good pace as well. And yeah, going into that, it's great to see that F1 Esports has that global appeal now, where you've got drivers from all over the corners of the globe coming in to compete against some of the very best. That's why these challenges pick out the best 16 drivers. Doesn't matter where you're from. The most important thing is that you are quick and have a chance to show you're quick.
Yeah, exactly right. And we've already seen a few people showing some fantastic pace, and it's great to see this new crop of drivers. Again, we do have a number of veterans, but yeah, the new crop of drivers as well, doing a fantastic job. It's looking like that may have been a terminal issue Potentially. We are going to continue to update you guys on that, but we just want to keep you guys updated at home as to what's going on, because obviously that was a very abrupt end. I know it kind of cut out right as I was saying how excited I was to see the soft runners cut through the field, and that was, I promise, going to be very, very exciting stuff. But we're still waiting to get details back for you guys. We'll keep you updated as best we can in the meantime, and we'll just try to keep you entertained in the meantime. But yeah, really, really impressive stuff. First opportunity seeing the Xbox guys, and they have not disappointed. That was exactly the same sort of caliber that we saw from PS4 yesterday.
Yeah, I have to say as well, there was a bit more contact out there as well, but that just shows you that competitive nature going down in there, and two drivers going side by side through that snaking S section. Well, it's not for the one for trying, but it was always going to end one way, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, going side by side through there is brave. Some might say foolish, but I would say brave. I'm gonna stick with brave on that one.
Stick with brave. That's a good way to think about it. That is.
Yeah, exactly right. But I'm glad we got to see it at least once this week before leaving Hanoi. Of course, we only get to see 3 races at Hanoi, so I'm glad that we got to see that moment. I'm glad that. You know, because it's such a rare thing to see battling through that kind of section, that part of track. So it was really nice to see. It was unfortunate it ended the way that it did, but we knew that was going to happen. We knew Kieran, the moment we saw those cars go side by side, we knew that was going to end in tears.
We did. We called it, didn't we? Just as it's like a crystal ball we've got on our desks right in front of us. We can see that coming from a mile off, but you're not going to convince these drivers not to go for a move they don't think it can happen, which at that split-second decision, you think anything's possible.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you know, they are racing drivers. They're much more competitive than the likes of us, certainly, which is why I'm where I am and where they are. So, you know, it was probably going to happen, but yeah, the crash was inevitable. The contact between them, that was always going to happen. It's just so narrow through there. So high speed, the change of direction as well. They're both trying to just make the corner, and you lose so much time as well doing that. Again, they lost an enormous amount of time to the cars ahead, which really hurts them too. So you have to think about that kind of stuff when you're going for those types of moves, because if you go side by side through the S's, you are very possibly ruining any chance of making any additional overtakes later in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. And just talking about that race, we saw Jonas Rutten at the top of the standings, clear and away. He looked like he had the pace to go on as long as he'd like.
Yeah, he was looking very comfortable at the front, you have to say, in the tail end of that race. He was on the medium tires. He was one of the guys that started on the softs, went to the mediums for his one and only stop. Looking very comfortable. I don't know if he had, if he built that gap actually during the pit stop phase. I don't know if he had an incredible in-lap and out-lap, and that was what helped him, or if he just, you know, was able to build that gap slowly after switching on to the mediums, but really was controlling things quite well. No doubt about it. Was looking really comfortable. He is one of the most experienced drivers on this Xbox grid, though, so you would definitely expect that kind of performance from him, and it's great to see it. He was also on fastest lap as well when we unfortunately disconnected from the server. So yeah, things were looking really good for him, actually.
They really were, and sometimes when you're in a race like that and you're leading the way, if we don't see a lot of you out on track, that is normally a good sign. Curiosity is going to get the better of me, Justin, because I really want to know what happened to Lutz. What on earth happened that made him fall all the way down to 10th place? And the moment we left them, he was on that podium once again. Yeah, really impressive stuff. That's another way to get yourself noticed. Again, we don't know what happened, so we don't know if it was a mistake from him. He, like many of the other drivers, is on social media, so very likely we can check in with him on Twitter or something like that after the race to get some information. We heard from Matthias, actually, yesterday after the race in China, where he had that lockup into turn 10. I don't have the map in front of me, turn 10. And yeah, apparently the 100-meter board was just missing, and he got caught out, and yeah, so it was a combination of factors that led to that mistake, and it was through the beauty of social media that we were able to find out about that yesterday. Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully we'll get to give you those results when we find them, when we can get them. But at the moment, you're just gonna have to listen to Justin and I talking, and unfortunately, that's not what we want to hear, is it really, Justin? But I mean, I'm very happy to talk about what was happening at that moment in time. I mean, we've seen some of these drivers. We saw Ken at the bottom there. I think he retired. Yeah, he did retire in the pit lane. So he decided to call it a day very early on in this race. He only completed, I believe, 3 laps of that race before he decided to call it a day. What would he miss out on if he were to finish this race?
I mean, he could. So if he leaves the race early, he could go ahead and start jumping in some laps at Shanghai, and just prepping himself a little bit for that one-shot quali. So I could actually totally understand that. I'm glad that he left in the pit lane, though. Just for those at home who are maybe new to F1 Esports Series Challengers, or F1 Esports in general. We ask that the drivers retire in the pit lane, because if they just quit out of the game while they're on track, then they have to the computer has to take over and bring their car back into the pits manually, which can be a real distraction. It's not going to be dangerous or damaging. Nobody's going to run into it. It'll ghost and all that, but it's very distracting to people when they're trying to battle for position and stuff like that. So I know it's kind of weird to mention, but shout out to Ken for retiring in the pits, because if you do have to retire, if you do find yourself in that position, the other drivers and all of the people at home do appreciate you taking that extra effort to do it in the pit lane, to make sure that the rest of the race isn't affected and everything like that. So again, it just goes to show we've got this new level every year, every season. We got a new standard for driving, for battling, for all of that kind of stuff, and every year these drivers just raise that bar a little bit higher, and it's always impressive to me.
It is always impressive, and the caliber of drivers that come in time and time again that show us what is going to basically happen in this race, and the quality of the drivers as well coming through just continues to amaze us time after time after time. At that moment we left that race, by the way, can I just say, Oates was running in 6th place when we left him. That was a jump of 8 positions from where he started. That was a phenomenal drive.
Yeah, that was, again, I really think Oates was on for a possible podium there. He was catching up to Brown, Awen, and Lutt on those soft compound tires. The gap that he had to 3rd was round about 4 seconds. And they had just over 4 laps still to go. So I don't know for sure if he would have gotten into the podium, but it definitely would have been exciting to try and watch. I think Brown again is another very experienced Leroy Brown, LVA Brown. He's still called P1R Brown on Twitter. He is an ultra experienced driver, so I think he would have given Oates the best fight that he could have possibly given him. He would have done his best to try and hold on to that top 5, no doubt about it. Or he would have tried to follow Oates through, because that's what you could do. You got a faster car coming through, use him to overtake the car in front of you, and then you have a net gain of 1 position and a net loss of 1 position, so it ends up equaling out. And Brown is one of those extremely experienced drivers that would be thinking about that sort of thing. So it would have been interesting to see how that worked out.
It would have been, absolutely. And when it comes to these sort of experienced drives, what are these teams looking for exactly? Because we've got new drivers coming in and showing us their side, what they can do, how quick they are, how good their racecraft is. How do they compete against those that maybe have been here before?
I don't know. Honestly, that's where it gets tricky, because I can give advice. I can say, get that good result and have consistency, and it's easy to say that sort of stuff. But yeah, when you're actually going up against these guys that you've maybe only seen drive on Twitch before in the F1 Esports Series Challengers, it's a whole nother thing. It can really change things around. So. It's difficult to say exactly what you can do, but I would say play to your strengths. If your strength as a driver is qualifying, play to that. Qualify high, chuck on the high downforce setup, do your best to just defend, to make it work in the corners if that's where you're fastest. But yeah, play to your strengths, really. At this point, I'm not sure if we're going to be getting back in to Hanoi. So we might be heading over to China now. We might be heading over to Shanghai, which is part of the reason I'm glad that we actually have 2 races per day. So it's unfortunate that we've had to leave things like that in Vietnam, but we've still got this race in China.
We do, and I think I can confirm that the race was going on behind us. So the race did come to an end with the top 3 there. So we'll try and confirm that when we get those results. But in the meantime, let's turn our attentions then, Justin, to China. Now, if this isn't a jarring case of getting from one circuit to another, you've got a tight street circuit, walls are ever close to you with lots of hairpins, lots of tight corners, lots of high speed corners. Then we come to Shanghai, where those walls are at the furthest they could possibly be. I mean, it's such a different type of track we're going to.
Yeah, a lot of runoff. It's quite a bit more forgiving when it comes to Shanghai versus Hanoi. But yeah, a very different sort of challenge. Very difficult on the tires, as we touched on yesterday. There's just so many corners that keep on going forever at the Shanghai International Circuit. And you get those really high-speed corners through Sector 2 as well. Turns 7 and 8, really putting a lot of load on both sides as well, too. So you're not just destroying one side of your tires, you're actually destroying both sides. But definitely the left side's going to take a little bit more punishment. It is a clockwise circuit, of course, at Shanghai. And you really do load up those tires through turns 1 and 2 and 12 and 13 coming onto the DRS straight. I would say those are what's most punishing. So that's really what's going to be hurting the tires the most. We did see pretty aggressive pit stops yesterday on the PS4 side in Shanghai, though. We saw people coming in lap 2, lap 3, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a pretty big pit window, which opens up the variety a little bit. But similar sort of thing. I expect that people can make an undercut or overcut work. Either could be successful if you play your cards right.
Oh, absolutely. But one thing we saw yesterday, Justin, was that obviously the first race of the night has that short qualifying, 18 minutes, set as many lap times as you want, try and fight for that pole position. Now we come to the second race of the night, which is one-shot qualifying. One chance to get the lap time in. And for the PS4 drivers yesterday, it was bucketing it down, raining cats and dogs at Shanghai. And, well, it just proved to you that you have to be prepared for anything when you come into challenges.
Yeah, that was a real treat. I really appreciated that. I mean, what a way to start, because that was the first time ever that we've had one-shot qualifying in F1 Esports Series Challengers. As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but that is the first time we've ever had one-shot qualifying for any year of Challengers, and it did not disappoint. It was super interesting to see the names moving around, to see drivers excelling in one corner and failing in another corner, and seeing the kind of difference that made. And it was so tight at the end, too. It was like a tenth or two for the top 5. Very close.
Yeah, and what you get is that, I'm going to trademark this as one of my own sayings, the standing shake-up as you go through one-shot qualifying. There's no point in trying to see who could possibly get it out onto that top step of that qualifying session until the last straight or the last corner. That's the best idea you've got of who could be on that provisional pole position. But that's something for the drivers to really think about as well. They've only got that one chance, that one lap time. So the pressure really does ramp up for them. It's a sort of test to throw them at the wall and see if they stick.
Yeah, it's their 8-mile moment, no doubt about it, like Eminem said. So yeah, it makes things very difficult. And, especially if it's like, not a circuit that you enjoy, not a circuit that you click with, because of course, some people are just really bad at certain circuits. I imagine anyone who's a sim racer or a racing gamer who's sitting at home is probably thinking of their nightmare circuit right now. For me, it's Monaco. I will say that every single time. I am just hot garbage at Monaco, just absolutely shambles. I mean, it's really shocking to see, if I'm honest. But yeah, everybody has that track, and if you're in one-shot quali, then it's like a nightmare scenario for you. Like, oh god, I'm in Shanghai, it's raining, and I've got one attempt to try and put it on pole. It's just the worst of every possible world. So it really does make things just that little bit more difficult for anybody who might not be a fan of it. But it shook things up yesterday, as you said, as I've said, as we said yesterday, and that really made the race exciting. So I wonder though if it'll be as shaken up if it's dry with one-shot quality. I wonder how much of that had to do with the fact that it was wet and how much had to do with the fact that it was one-shot quality.
I think as well, when it comes to wet weather, it really does sort of polarize the field, because you'll get those drivers who are fantastic in the wet, you'll have dry runners that are fantastic in the dry, but when the rain starts to fall, they find it more difficult to find that grip out there. It can change the race entirely, and what we saw yesterday was it entirely shook up that grid when we headed for that 25% race at Shanghai. Some of those drivers we expected to be at the top of the order were sort of in that mid-pack.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty surprising. Timon was down in 7th, if I remember correctly, in qualifying. It was pretty low for Timon, who had won the race previously at Hanoi. So yeah, it was pretty shocking for him. And the Gil, of course, going from 14th to winning the race in Shanghai. So yeah, it shook things up, not just for qualifying, but it ended up having a knock-on effect in the race itself, which was exactly what we were hoping to see, though, if we're honest. So you know, that's a real treat. So we were just kind of soaking it in, really. You know, just when you get given that kind of conditions, you just have to enjoy it for what it's worth. And they put on a fantastic show, a lot of fun, really enjoyable race. And I'm very excited to see what the Xbox guys are going to do in Shanghai. And again, for those at home, we are going to find out very shortly here. We appreciate you sticking with us. It shouldn't be too much longer now before we head to China.
Yes, and I know you've all been waiting patiently. I promise you, you will be rewarded with a race in China. And talking about the Chinese circuit then, obviously, it's got that unique design, hasn't it, Justin? From the air, it looks absolutely fantastic whenever you see it on the map. It looks like that sort of pleasing aspect. It's actually designed to look like the Chinese symbol for Shang, which means upwards. So there you go. That's what that means, and that's why it's designed the way it is. And it does provide us with some great action. 1.2 kilometer back straight down towards a hairpin. I mean, very similar in that Hanoi and Shanghai are so similar, with a sort of a long acceleration point, bit of DRS down towards a heavy braking zone. That's probably your best chance for an overtake.
Yeah, without a doubt. Turn 1 is difficult to overtake at. You can do it. It's difficult, though. You can sometimes get it done through turn 2 as well. If you can go around the outside, or turn 3, I should call it, if we're honest. If you go around the outside or find a line through the inside, then you can go side by side into 3. That change of direction definitely opens up some opportunities. The turn 6 hairpin, as we've seen historically, is always a great place for overtakes as well. Into turn 11, you can make it work if you find your braking point. You can make it work into turn 11. But turn 14, of course, that's always going to be the heavy braking zone. Very similar to turn 11 in Hanoi. You're going from absolutely enormous speeds down that 1 kilometer straight with the DRS open, side by side with somebody, very likely. After years and years of tweaking the DRS zone, I think they've found a good spot where you end up side by side into turn 14. You don't just breeze by like you may have done in previous years in the real life Formula One. So they've done a great job of tweaking it, and it's a circuit that's really grown on me over time. I don't know about you, Karen, but it's grown on me over time. At first, I was kind of like, yeah, it's all right. But slowly over the years, it's become one of my favorites. I still prefer Malaysia, which came out around the same time as Shanghai. Sepang is a little bit better in my opinion personally, but both great circuits, both great.
Both great circuits, and we're going to be racing in Shanghai, which is going to take us around 5.4 kilometers of great racing action. And of course, turn 6, Justin, what does that remind you of? It reminds me of a stamp being lit and being sent. That's what it reminds me of.
Yep, same every single time. I think the diehard F1 fans will always think of Ricardo at turn 6. I mean, it's one of those tracks that doesn't have names for corners, but yeah, maybe that can be the stamp corner or something like that. Some of these newer circuits could definitely benefit from some names on their corners.
You heard it here in F1 Esports Challengers. Turn 6 is now stamp. There you go.
Just Stamp.
Justin Sutton.
I'm not great at naming.
In towards stamp corner. There you go. That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect. But the Chinese Grand Prix then, 5.4 kilometers, takes us around 16 corners over this fantastic circuit. A couple of DRS zones and detection points as well to try and get you through the action, and plenty of undulation. Now it's time for one of the best top laps you'll see today.
Hi, Kimi Räikkönen, Alfa Romeo Racing Orlen, and I'm going to take you around the lap in Shanghai. Yeah, obviously not that long straight, and the first 2 corners are very difficult. The first corner very long and hard to get it right. You need to carry speed, and then it tightens a lot. So get the front biting, and then the next left-hander again similar. It's very tight, and then it opens up. So you need to have a good start, because you can lose or gain a lot of lap time. Then it's a decent straight with little kink and hard braking to the hairpin that are usually pretty decent, and then coming over that little hill to the left-right fast corners. The right one, it's fast in the entry, and then you need to slow down in the middle to keep the line for the next left-hander, because it's very easy to lock the front on the entry on the double left-handers. After that little straight, then again tricky braking and easy to lock up and run a little bit wide, because it's need to get a good line to get a good exit on this long back straight, and it's all about getting good momentum out of the first part of that long corner to that straight to make sure you can either overtake or defending in the race. And then second last corner to the long straight is a hard braking and pretty tight hairpin that it's kind of opens up in the end. So when you go to the last corner, that is surprisingly fast how tight the corner is, that you can really push when it's roughly 100 meters to the finish line.
A cool delivery then from the Iceman of that hot lap, and well, the clouds have gathered for one-shot qualifying, Justin, but they're not pouring down with rain. That'll be a sigh of relief for some of these drivers.
Yeah, and with such a short session, the chances of it, starting to rain mid-lap, I would say, are very, very slim. But that would make things very exciting if that actually happened. So, we can hope. But yeah, we're getting ready for that one-shot qualifying. Again, this is new for this season for the 2021 F1 Esports Series Challengers. This is the Xbox side for anybody who is just joining us. We had a slightly truncated Hanoi race at Vietnam, but we are looking forward to this one.
Absolutely, as we take you on for one-shot qualifying, and who will we be joining on board today? As we see then on that left-hand side, you can see standing shake-up being already taking place, as we see Clenzo making his way onwards towards turn one, then flying in, chuck the car into the right-hand side, and hope you've got enough aero to stick the car to the ground, then making our way downhill in towards turn two, into the braking zone of turn three. Very easy to lock a brake there on the exit of four. Watch out for the wheel spin there, can really catch you out. Now in towards turn five, and at the end of sector one there we can see Jonas, who's currently leading the standings at the moment in these standing shake-ups, but as you can see, as soon as he brakes for that corner, that's when it happens. All that shake-up happens, and we know no longer who could be on the top. But through seven, flying now through turn eight, those G-forces working against you in the car there, now making our way towards turns 9 and 10. Currently, Lut now we're riding on board with through turn 10, up a gear to reduce the chances of wheel spin on the exit of turn 9 as you carry the speed through on towards turn 11. Uphill as you get to the apex there to try and help you get that wheel spin under control. Now going through turn 12 and turn 13, and you'll see there the Haas there short shifting up to 5th gear to reduce that wheel spin once again, making our way down the 1.2 kilometer straight. DRS now wide open as you now have plenty of time to think about your braking zone down towards turn 14. We got the braking markers on the right or left hand side, I should say, about 70 meters before the corner, and still Lutz managed to lock up on the way in, locked his front brakes up. Vindeum is currently at the top of the standings as we fly our way through that final corner and onwards now towards that start finish line. Who's going to be on top? It's Vindeum who gets that pole position, 29.0 from that Mercedes man, and he puts it onto the front of the pack. Great lap time from Vindeum.
Impressive stuff. Impressive. Jonas in the end could only manage 6th quickest in his Red Bull. 3rd row of the grid is where he'll be starting from. And wow, look at that. A 10th and a half in the end. That's massive.
That's a lifetime away in terms of esports, isn't it? So Vindeum at the top of the table, Lut in 2nd, Oates rounding out the top 3, Brown in 4th, Antoine 5th, Jonas in 6th, Sam McCabe is in 7th, John Evans in 8th, Clenzo 9th, and Hoopalicious rounds out the top 10. Same rules apply because it was a dry qualifying session. That top 10 have to start on those soft tyres. They just set that lap time on. Anyone below the top 10 can start on whatever tyre they like. And Justin, it's always a bit of a nervous moment for us commentators, for us viewers, about what is the track going to do? What is the weather going to be like as we transition into the race?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, of course, because that will determine a lot about this race. It'll be if it's dry, then of course they'll have to think about their strategy that they've set up. If it's wet, then they've got to hope that they are prepared for that. Oh, that is very ominous in the sky, isn't it?
Took the words right out of my mouth, Justin. Very ominous indeed. I wonder, those grey clouds don't look like they're going to shift anytime soon. I don't want to tempt anything just yet, Justin, but maybe, who knows? I'm not going to say anything more than that because we are waiting now to get started here at the Chinese Grand Prix, ready to bring you another 25% race. And just a quick word from you, Justin. What are you expecting from strategy this time around?
It depends if there's going to be any sort of rain, but that would really make things very interesting. If it's going to be a transition sort of session, if it goes from dry to wet, then that really benefits the drivers who are able to notice that crossover point, to know when to switch over to the intermediates. But yeah, that's going to be a tough one. But let's look to the guys at the back. Let's see if anyone can make that alternate strategy work. It's dry, so some people are going to be starting from the mediums at the back.
Well, whatever the wet rain dance is in those rigs, they'll be doing them now, and those that don't like the rain will be doing the exact opposite, hoping for the dry race dance, if such things exist. But we're onto the grid now, and counting up those lights to start this race. It is 5 red lights. And we're racing in Shanghai. One of the stars, like great start from Findayem, so too from Lut, as we now pile our way in towards turn 1. Once again, Findayem on the outside turns in and takes that position away. Lut getting into second place, but there is Oates looking around the outside in towards turn 3. Will he have that inside line now? He does, but can't quite get that momentum through. Antoine having to hold on for 4th place there. Going to be on the outside for turn 4, but will get the traction down as Brown tries to fend off Jonas going down in towards turn 6 now. Flying our way through that Red Bull, having the inside line on the inside of Brown. Brown is off the track there and has to yield for that one. Jonas now making his way up towards 5th place. Hooperlicious gets his way past Saiter, and there's Clenzo on the inside then. Where did he come from? Flying around the outside in towards turn 8 now. He'll have the inside line for turn 9, and the bravery from Clenzo has been rewarded. He's got himself past Brown and up into 6th. Oh, big moment from Sam McCabe there. He's going to have to instantly be on the defence as we head our way up towards turn 11. There is Hooperlicious trying to go round the outside. He'll have the inside for 12, will he? You can just about see in the mirrors there. I think Sam McCabe just got away with that one.
That is, wow, that is right on the limit. He's got to be really, really careful because that is an open invitation for Hooperlicious, who's already up 1 position into 9th. Now he's got Chandler Saiter right behind him as well, but they're battling for the lead.
Here we go then, Lut up the inside of Findayem going in towards that penultimate corner. But you can see there the Mercedes is still on the left-hand side. Findayem is not going to give up on this. We're side by side in towards that final corner. We're still side by side as we make our way down this start-finish straight. Findayem just has a nose ahead and Lut has to concede this time around. But great battling between the top 2 as we make our way for the second time in towards turns 1 and 2. Lut sees the door open on the inside, heading our way now in towards turn 2. He'll be on the outside for turn 3. And there's Oates trying to get away up the inside as well, trying to find some sort of alternate line, but Lut can't progress, but he doesn't fall back either. Now he's going to try the outside of turn 6 this time around to try and get the better traction. Again, Findayem holds firm, and Oates there can't quite take advantage. He got a good run, but I think he tapped the side of the hearse there, and Antoine says, thank you very much, I'll take 3rd place.
Lut's got to be really careful here. If he's not careful, he's going to end up losing that DRS to Findayem, and none of these guys are going to be in contention for the win. And Findayem's just going to drive off into the distance and enjoy his win and say thank you very much to Caden Lutt for starting all of that. So it's only lap 2, of course, so no DRS just yet. But he does still want that slipstream because that is absolutely crucial. Without that slipstream, he is going to be a sitting duck for those Red Bulls behind.
We're riding on board with Oates then as he makes his way down that 1.2 kilometre straight. No DRS, of course, online just yet, but you can just hear the engine note of that Red Bull in front. Very, very close there, but you've also got Brown who's looking for a move up the inside. You can just see on the right-hand side of that mirror in towards turn 14, but again, he can't find that way through just yet. Meanwhile, we're following Lut as he tries to chase down Findayem, making our way now through that final corner and onwards once again to that start-finish straight. We've already got cars making their way in towards the pits, then Pinecone and John Evans into the pits from 14th and 15th now, but soft and medium tyres respectively on those cars. So let's see what happens then. Elwyn, who's now down into 14th place. He didn't get a great start at all.
No, he really didn't, but looking stronger now, I guess, after that. Really shocking for Pinecone, though, I have to say. I picked him out earlier in the broadcast as one of the ones to watch, and he's just having a really, really tough day. Certainly not representative of what I expect from him in the future.
Well, yeah, there's something about you and commentator Cursive that seem to go hand in hand. What is that, Justin? What do you do? Meanwhile, we're running aboard with Brown then as he tries to chase down Oates for what will be 5th place in this race. There's Antoine, who's holding on to 3rd place right now. He's in that precarious position because he wants to try and attack Lut to try and get that 2nd place, but he's also going to have to defend from someone as equally quick. Jonas right behind him as we now take our way in towards turns 12 and 13 through that long right-hander, which demands so much from that front left-hand tyre, making our way on towards that back straight towards that ever-present turn 14. But Vendame leads then from Lut and Antoine. That's your top 3 so far. We ride on board with Brown then, who's looking for a way past Oates. Oates defends hard to the inside. In towards turn 14 we go. Brown goes around the outside. He'll try and get the better traction off the corner, but Oates gets that launch he needed off of turn 14 and defends well, and then rewards himself by getting straight into the pit lane.
Pitting at the end of lap 3 is going to be looking to do an 11-lap stint on the set of medium compound tires. The highest medium runner at the moment is actually Lefted in 6th position, running on the mediums after a number of cars coming into the pits, obviously. So that is the leading medium runner at the moment, just for everybody at home. Findayum, though, just rejoining the leaders, Findayum still has mirrors full of that Haas of Lut.
Yes, he does indeed, and that is our race leader, Mikko Haltijoki, as he's trying to find a way away from Caden Lutz in 2nd place. Brief yellow flags there in, I believe that was sector 1 at the moment, but Buraps has now made his way in towards the pit lane then, currently 16th place. We've got yellow flags in sector 1 then. Is that involving Sam McKay because he's now dropped down to 15th place? No, I think that was just a move for position from John Evans there up into 14th. Riding aboard now with Caden Lutt as he now makes his way in towards 11 and then through turn 12 as he tries to see if he can find a way past. There is, meanwhile, Sam McCabe and John Evans going side by side through 7 and then through turn 8. Sam McCabe realises he has to back out of that one as he now makes his way through in towards turn 9. Not really an overtaking opportunity for the Alpha Tauri there, but he's right on the back of John Evans.
Yeah, this is really, really close stuff, and I imagine it's going to be even closer once they get down towards turn 14. But the Alpha Tauri doing absolutely everything he can to try and find a way past HX4K. And here they go on to that straight now with Oates leading this pack. You can see Pinecone actually just over a second off of Antoine, but of course the DRS detection line is just after turn 11, or right around the apex of turn 12 even, as we're seeing the rest of the soft runners come into the pits.
Yeah, they're all into the pits now, going on to a set of medium tyres and trying to get that strategy to the end of the race. Meanwhile, then, that's going to hand the lead over to Lefted then. But meanwhile, here comes Antoine on the inside of Oates then. In towards turn 1 we go. We got cars coming out of the pit lane. That couldn't have been a very nice moment there for Antoine. Had to get onto the anchors slightly there as Brown rejoins ahead of him. So too does Jonas there. So Antoine's got it all to do. He's got to try and get past Brown ahead of him. A little bit of tail happy coming out of turn 4. Won't be too concerned about that one. Oates isn't really in that position to try and take advantage of Antoine there as we make our way in towards turn 6. But lap number 5, we've got Lefted winning, currently in the lead of this race. Ken is in 2nd place. Now, he didn't finish the last race in Hanoi. He retired very early on in the race. He now finds himself in 2nd place. Yet to stop in this race, though, but encouraging signs for him to get his first points.
Yeah, certainly. And we did see the alternate strategy can be quite beneficial. We saw that yesterday on the PS4 side, and I imagine Ken probably saw that on the PS4 side yesterday as well. He was probably one of the drivers that was tuning in, I would expect. So he's going to know exactly when to pit, or he's going to have a good idea of when he wants to pit and all that kind of stuff. He's going to be certainly thinking about that alternate strategy before even coming into this race. Antoine, it looks like, is going to be a little bit too far back, to do anything about Brown. Brown's definitely too far back to do anything about Jonas, the leading Red Bull at this stage in 6th position, just up the road. DRS for all of them, but no moves. The gap's just a little bit too big. We might see that start to come down. Jonas does not, at the moment, have the DRS off of Lut. He's got about half a second between himself and that Haas, so certainly I imagine he's going to be pushing hard to try and close that down. Meanwhile, Lut is closing in on Findayum and trying to take what is the lead of this race.
Yeah, net lead of this race at the moment, isn't it? They're both quite a way off that lead pack, but they both are on a set of fresh medium tyres to get to the end of the race, whilst the top three in this race, sorry, top three in this race. I was right. I should be more confident in myself. Haven't stopped yet. They are yet to stop in this race. Of course, you've got to make one mandatory stop. You've got to run 2 different tyre compounds in a dry race in order to be classified at the end. If you throw a bit of rain in there, however, that changes the rules up completely.
Yes.
So far, no one's gone for that risk of saying, well, it could be raining later on in this race. We could have wet tyres at the end. Everyone seems to think that if there is going to be any rain, we're going to be drawn dry tyres for the entire race.
Yeah, we did see, I think almost everybody, if not everybody. Oh, a 3-second time penalty for Sam McCabe. Now we didn't see the full race at Hanoi, so that helps things. But that is actually the first time penalty, I believe, that we're seeing for the F1 Esports Series Challengers on the Xbox side here for the 2021 season. So it took more than a race worth of laps actually, because yeah, he's just coming to the end of lap 6. Or will be coming to the end of lap 6. So yeah, more than a race worth of laps completed before we finally saw that penalty. So really, really clean driving that we're seeing. And at the moment, for Sam McCabe, that penalty means absolutely nothing. But it does mean if he makes any overtakes on those cars ahead of him, you know, it doesn't even really count. So it's not ideal, but his race isn't over.
Not overlooked by a long shot here. It's not even at half distance just yet, as that's Sater right on the back of Pinecone. Then as we make our way in towards turn 2, then you can see Pinecone taking a slightly different line. That's Christopher Parry, who's trying to hold on to that 12th place right now. Still got a couple of cars ahead of him to pit, so he could still have a run in the points. Meanwhile then, Sater will be looking for the same to try and get himself some decent points here at the Chinese Grand Prix. But it is Conor Muir leading this race at this moment in time, and he's looking pretty comfortable at the moment. He still is yet to stop in this race, though, as we watch Sater really challenge and really try and use as much grip as possible through 7 and 8 to try and keep that car absolutely planted.
I think we're going to see all 3 of the leading cars come into the pits at the end of this lap. I think 7 laps on a set of softs with low fuel at Shanghai in a 25% distance race is very fair. It's just aggressive enough without being too aggressive. Certainly staying out another lap I don't think would be beneficial. It's very, very, very difficult to try and do an overcut on somebody when you're going from mediums to softs. Nigh on impossible. Here's Chandler Saita on Pinecone. Let's see. Oh, he finds that inside line as they get into the hairpin. He does get it all slowed down. Makes that fairly easy overtake on Pinecone. Again, remember Pinecone started right at the back here today. So he's actually gained positions in this race, but I imagine Chandler Seitz is going to be feeling good about that, and I think he just about gets the DRS off his compatriot of Hoopalicious.
Yeah, and Hoopalicious, I think, has just made a move up the inside there in towards turn 1 on Clenzo, but there's a racing point around. Oh, sorry, it's a Williams around. That's Clenzo. There's a racing point. They have come together going through turn 2, and they would have hooked wheels there for sure, and it looks like their Hoopalicious right now is going to cause all sorts of carnage as we make our way through turn 5 and then towards turn 6 as Hoopalicious tries to make sure he loses the least amount of positions possible. Conor Muir, meanwhile, gets his move there. He now moves ahead, and so too does Oates, and so too does Saiter. So Hoopalicious and all of that has now dropped to 12th place. I wonder if there's any damage to that racing point.
I don't know. He definitely got caught offline in the middle sector there, though, and that was just an open invitation for the cars behind to overtake him. He drops down into 12th position. Now Saita is the one that's in 10th. He's still just about within DRS range, but he's got to push hard through those couple of corners there if he wants to get that DRS down towards the hairpin. This is a replay of Luck on Findam. They got very, very close through that hairpin coming down into the final corner, or is this a replay? I think this is actually live. Yeah, this is actually live. End of lap 8, so this is going to be starting lap 9 now. 6 laps to go. Sorry, nope, that wasn't. I apologize. That wasn't a replay, or that was a replay. This is live now.
Yeah, this is live, and it's getting a little bit hairy, isn't it? Right now, Pinecone is now trying to find his way past Hoopalicious. He's having to go round the outside in towards turn 16. Hoopalicious is able to hold off Pinecone for now, but for how much longer? Pinecone has that DRS. Will he have the inside line going in towards turn 1 as as we see on board with Sam McKay. We can just see Pinecone has the inside line going in towards turn 1. Then we find our way through turn 2. Hoopalicious is still on the outside. He'll want to try and grab the inside line for turn 3, which he does as we try and see them file their way through. Pinecone round the outside of 4 has got the move done. Hoopalicious gets a big tank slapper coming out of turn 4, and he might be vulnerable here from John Evans, who launches it down the inside in towards Stamp Corner, but he can't find the move there. A little bit of contact between the two of them, and well, John Evans tried his own licking of the stamp there. He has to go round the outside, then through turn 7. Now we head our way towards turn 8. He's got the inside this time around. They're still very, very close together, still not done through turn 9, and somehow Hoopalicious hangs on to 10th place. How on earth did he do that?
Now that's what I call battling. That is fantastic. Sam McCabe picks up a 3-second time penalty, loses a bunch of positions. He's pulling off the circuit as well, too. So I don't know if that's a technical difficulty for the Alpha Tauri, but he's going to lose a ton of positions. He's going to get a penalty. He's going to lose some time as well. Unfortunate for him. It's going to drop him right down into 15th, possibly even lower than that due to the penalty. But they're side by side, Alfa Romeo versus McLaren on the DRS straight down towards the hairpin. It looks like the McLaren coming back at him. Actually, Awen going alongside Hoopalicious now, looking to demote him once again. The Racing Point just got back up into 10th position, and he's pushed back down into 11th thanks to Awen. Absolutely incredible stuff. Lefted just set fastest lap, by the way. As you can see from the graphic on the left-hand side at home, he is the leading soft runner at the moment. Definitely keep an eye on him in these closing laps.
Oh, absolutely. He's purple through the first 2 sectors at least, so he's got some fine pace on him as Sam McCabe has come back to the pits to retire from the race. So whatever issues he was having there have forced him out of this Chinese Grand Prix. We're still at 15 runners right now. 5 laps to go, 4 and a bit if you're picky. It is Lut who leads the way from Findeyem, and Jonas in 3rd place. Antoine 2 seconds back at this moment in time. He's on the medium tyres, don't forget. Brown as well on the medium tyres. Then we've got Lefton. Connor Muir is in 6th place. He's on the soft tyres, trying to make that charge through the pack. 1.7 seconds is his target, is his gap to the next car in Brown. Thing is, though, he's got 4.5 laps to go. How far can he get up this table?
It's going to be really interesting to see. Just for everybody at home, the soft runners at the moment are Lefted, Awen, and Ken. So those are the ones, 6th position, 9th position, and 14th position. Those are the ones to keep an eye on. Yellow flag out in the crossover point between Sector 1 and Sector 2. I'm going to assume that's further back in the field. I don't see anybody dropping like a stone. Chandler Saita just lost the position, though, for 8th. I wonder if that's got something to do with him. No, he's battling on the DRS straight. Just lost the position to the Alfa Romeo, but yeah, it's not over yet. In fact, if I were those two guys, I'd be looking to leapfrog each other each lap to try and close down that gap to Oates in 7th.
Yeah, absolutely. Running on board now with someone who was a reserve. He got the call up and is now racing alongside these Titans here. And he's trying to make his mark on here. We're riding on board with Ken, better known as Kenneth Lindquist, as he makes his way now through turns 1 and 2, as he tries to make his way through now. He's on the soft tyres, so he's got a little bit of pace on him. And to be fair, those points are not too far away. They're about 3 or 4 seconds up the road. If he can play his cards right, he might get some points on the board here.
Yeah, there's still some laps to go in this, so it's definitely not over for him just yet. Just rejoining the leaders at the moment. This is the trio of cars currently leading the way: the Haas, the Mercedes, and the Red Bull. Lutt still holding on to that lead position with Findeyem, who of course was leading earlier on. Right behind him, Jonas as well, who's having a good day. He's in 3rd and definitely in contention for that win. And in fact, this is one of those strategy circuits where you really want to try and set yourself up at the end of the race. So Jonas could be in a perfect position here to kind of hang back and just take care of his tires, take care of his battery, all that kind of stuff, and just make sure that he's in the best possible position to overtake both of these guys at the end of the race. He's certainly going to be hoping that they start going side by side and yeah, just slowing each other down.
Yeah, and you've got there Lutz leading Findeyem, leading Jonas. That's your top 3 so far as they make their way towards that start-finish line once again. And I think for Antoine, for Brown, and for Lefted, all behind them, they'll be hoping that these top 3 start to battle, and that will bring that battle for the podium all the way now down to those top 6 places as Clenzo picks up a 3-second time penalty. That'll be added to the end of his race, as we see there Findeyem trying to negotiate through turn 4, and Jonas there is really trying to put the hammer down. He's trying to get those powers or that power through the rear wheels. Couldn't quite do it there, but he's still within touching distance of these top 2 in Lut and Findam. Lap 12 of this Grand Prix. We have 3 to go, 2 and a bit if you're picky. Lut leading the way still.
Some pretty big gaps actually started for you. Can see Saita is actually more than a second off of Awin. Pinecone just over a second adrift of Chandler Saita as well. And Ken as well. He's also about a second and a half adrift of the McLaren of HX4K, currently holding on to that 12th place position. So some gaps starting to form, but still time to go. Awin is within striking distance of Oates. I would say that's definitely going to happen. Oates is not picking up DRS or anything like that. But I don't think Awin is really going to be able to go any higher than that. Left it could potentially make the overtake on Brown or Antoine, but I think 4th is as high as it's going to go. But oh, look at that, getting very interesting now on lap 12 for the lead. I thought these guys would wait a little bit longer before starting to go side by side, starting to go defensive, all of that kind of stuff. But I think they're starting to get anxious with just 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Elton gets the move then on Oates. He's now up into 7th place on those soft tyres, looking to try and make them work against Oates, who was on the medium tyres. I think Findam here is trying to play a game of strategy. I think he doesn't want to be that lead car on the final lap going down towards turn 14. He wants to be the one with the DRS. That gives him the best chance to get the braking zone right into 14. It's a high-risk strategy because it might not work out. You might not have the run out of 12-13 to get the run down towards 14, but I think that's the strategy he's playing here.
Yeah, he's gonna he's got to think of something. I mean, what are you gonna do though? Are you gonna make the overtake and then try to defend on the last lap, or are you gonna try to wait until the last minute and then you have no more opportunities if it doesn't work? Yeah, that's a really tough one, and that's the sort of call that I would never suggest to somebody what to do. It's it all comes down to what you feel most comfortable doing. Would on the last lap, would you rather be attacking with the DRS or have track position and be potentially defending? So it's gonna all come down to personal preference, but yeah, we're getting really close to the end now. Only a few overtaking locations remain for these guys.
Absolutely, and that's why when it comes to those decisions, you and I, Justin, have chosen to be up in the box and watch other people do it instead. But we're very close now to this final lap of the race. Meanwhile, then Brown looks like he's got the move done on Antoine, making our way in towards the hairpin. So that is Brown then, who's now up into 4th place. He's 2.9, now 3 seconds behind the leading pack here, but that's left it in the Ferrari as well, who wants to try and have some fun as well. He wants to try and grab that 4th place at least. We're on to the final lap of this race then. Findam hasn't got long now. He's only got about 5 kilometers to go to try and find a way past Lut, and Jonas will be there right behind them to see if he can try and take advantage if the top 2 get it wrong. But now we make our way through turn 5, onwards we go towards turn 6 then, braking hard then. Findam in the Mercedes, just trying to find some time on Lut, because if he wants that strategy to pay off, he's got to be right on his rear wing on the exit of turns 12 and 13 and try and basically throw away that dirty air. He's got to try and get as close to that Haas in front as he possibly can to make as much use of that DRS as possible. The only thing is, Lut will have some ERS to defend against. Is it going to be enough then as we make our way towards turn 11? Now into the final sector of this race. Lut still leading. Findam has got to make sure he gets this section absolutely spot on. Now rounding in through turn 13, onwards now towards the back straight, the 1.2 kilometer back straight. Lut instantly sees what Findam could do and moves right over to the right hand side of the track. DRS is open. I don't think Findam's got enough track. You could give him 2-3 kilometers and he won't catch the Haas ahead. I think Lut here has got that position. He has held onto it in towards the hairpin. We've only got 1 corner to go, and it's not a conventional overtaking opportunity. We're coming around the final corner, and it's going to be Caden Lut who makes his way towards the line and wins the Chinese Grand Prix here in Esports Challengers. What a fantastic fight between the top 3. Antoine pips Brown to the line by 6 thousandths of a second to take 4th place. What a finish between those two. Absolutely fantastic. Fireworks on that last lap of the race between the top 3, between that positions 4, 5 and 6. Fireworks everywhere. What a race. What a race.
6 thousandths is the kind of margin you see at the end of a race in oval racing. You don't normally see that in Formula 1, especially, as you said, turn 16 is not like a side-by-side corner or anything like that. So to be .006 away at the line. Oh, wow. I mean, that is just absolutely incredible stuff. That's a sensational finish. But yeah, it is Caden Lutt that picks up the win. Very well deserved. What a way to kick off his season, picking up a W in the first week of races. That's a fantastic way to start your season, and he's definitely going to be looking to build on that momentum.
Well, absolutely. And he'll be absolutely thrilled with that one as we take you through the official, unofficial results of the Chinese Grand Prix. No rain came at the end to spoil and rain on our parades. And aren't we glad it didn't? It is Caden Lutt who takes the win here at this Chinese Grand Prix. Miko Hautayoki in second place. Then it's Jonas Rutten rounding out the top three. To take you through the rest of the order, it is Antoine in fourth, Brown fifth, Lefted in sixth, Ewan seventh, Oates in eighth, Saita in 9th, and Pinecone rounding out the top 10. It's Hooperlicious in 11th place, John Evans in 12th, Ken in 13th, Clenzo 14th, Boraps in 15th, and Sam McCabe did not take the checkered flag. Fastest lap goes to Lefted, Connor Muir, who gets a 31.7 on the board. And with those soft tyres on his car, from 15th to 6th, he was the in-game the in-game fans driver of the day. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know. But Justin, would you agree with those in-game fans?
Yeah, I think I would actually. That's a really solid performance against an incredibly difficult grid as well. 9 positions gained in a race at this level of sim racing professionalism. That is impressive.
Isn't it just? And, well, we were treated to a fantastic end to the Chinese Grand Prix. And whilst we do some maths in the background, luckily not by me, otherwise we'll be here until the end of the week. We'll be past Christmas by the time I work it out. But at this point in time, Justin, we've seen some great racing out there. We've seen some great battling, even towards the checkered flag. Who has stood out to you the most in all of this?
Oh, that's a tough one. Lutt's been impressive. I would say, Lutt was on for another podium in Hanoi. So he won the race at Shanghai, and he was on for, at minimum, a podium in Hanoi before that mysterious incident that, we're still kind of questioning and stuff. So I think Caden Lutt is one of the ones I think that is going to be one to watch for the future races. I did say before, we know he's a quick driver. This year, he's going to be looking to have that consistency, that consistent quickness. But yeah, that's a huge statement from him. As I mentioned before, Pinecone, I don't think really representative result today, so I wouldn't look too much on Pinecone. Findeum was really impressive. Jonas as well, but again, he's one of the most veteran drivers on the grid.
Oh, absolutely. And I have to say, one driver that impressed me was Jonas Rutten. He got, fantastic results as far as we can see. He is definitely one to watch, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him at the pointy end of these standings.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait to see exactly. We're still waiting for the final results for the race in China, and then we'll get the results, the championship standings as they stand right now. But yeah, he's certainly going to be feeling pretty comfortable heading into those. You don't need to be winning after week one. It feels good to be winning after week one, but you don't need to be winning. You definitely want to have, I would say, anybody with double-digit points is probably going to be pretty happy. Anyone with double-digit points is probably going to be happy after week one.
Yeah, and as you perfectly alluded to there, Justin, it is the top 6 that make their way in towards the next stage of the competition. So where results will come for you when it comes to trying to get into that top 6, we've seen previously that just because you win every race, if a race hasn't gone your way, if you win 5 out of 6, but in that 6th race just everything went wrong for you, you didn't have the temperament, it can cost you that drive with the team.
Yeah, it can really hurt, no doubt about it. These guys are gonna, if they have a bad day, if they have a bad week, if they have a bad month, they're going to be looking to bounce back on that. And as I mentioned yesterday, we have even more time until the next race. So quite a number of weeks before we go racing in January. So they're going to have lots and lots of time to prepare, put in a ton of laps, because that's really what it is. I touched on that yesterday, but for the people at home who don't race competitively, it's just turning laps, like lots and lots of laps. You better like driving cars if you want to be a professional sim racer, because you just turn in a lot of laps.
Yeah, you are doing hot laps in your sleep. You are dreaming about the perfect racing line at that point. So that is how much dedication goes into this. And with all that dedication, it really does show when you've got drivers that are putting in those lap times consistently. Lap times I could only dream of.
Yeah, really, really, really impressive stuff. And like I said, it gets better every year because they have these new standards. These kids, I call them kids because I'm very old. I'm a very old man. But yeah, these guys, they're coming in. These people, they're coming in. They're putting in unbelievably fast times, and it gets faster and faster because they're trying to keep up with the Pro Series guys. Essentially, they're thinking ahead. They're already thinking about the Pro Series, no doubt about it. And if these drivers didn't think that they could bring it to the pro drivers, they wouldn't be here. Every single one of them thinks that they are good enough for the Pro Series, and probably every single one of them is right. Actually, these are all extremely good drivers. It's going to be about finding, just getting those rough edges down and stuff like that. Finding that perfect driver.
And as well, this is a chance to really just improve yourself, that last chance to improve yourself in Challengers before you pretty much present yourself to these teams when you head to that pro exhibition. And I think one driver who, you've already alluded to him today in Pinecone, and Christopher Parry, I mean, he got 10th place right now. That is what we've got on our standings. It's yet to be officially confirmed. That's why we call them the official, unofficial results. But in that race, he was up 6 places. He started last, got himself a point, and I think when everything's against you, I think that point that's really hard earned means a lot.
Yeah, he had a difficult qualifying, and he bounced back from that in a really good way. He had a difficult weekend, I say weekend because that's when races usually happen, but he had a difficult day. He had a tough one out there, no doubt about it, particularly in qualifying. Had a much better race, though, made up those positions, was able to get into the championship points and into 10th as it stands at the end of the race. Anyway, we'll see whether anything gets changed. Usually it doesn't. We don't often see penalties being handed out, but certainly it can happen. So, but Pinecone, like I said, he's one of the guys that I've been commentating on for a long time. I'm very familiar with him in his days of racing in league racing over at AOR and that kind of thing. So I'm very, very familiar with him. I know what kind of driver he is, and I would say today has not been Pinecone's day. But yeah, his not compatriot, but his teammate, so to speak, CRG Caden Lutt, on the other hand, had a fantastic day. So I imagine overall the CRG guys are going to be pretty happy about the performances today.
I think they will. What gave you that idea, Justin? I do wonder. I have to say as well, one of the most experienced heads on the field, of course, in LVA Brown, as he's known on his gamer tag. I mean, that was a pretty impressive performance. I mean, he was sort of challenging for those podiums, but it just didn't quite click for him today.
Yeah, Brown is one of those drivers who he's never been a dominant driver. He's never come in and just won absolutely everything. So he's a bit of the first race I ever saw him win actually was a race where a bunch of people picked up penalties, some people crashed out, there was just a whole bunch of chaos, and he kept it clean on the track, no penalties, good pace, and that's what allowed him to pick up that win. And that's his kind of style. He's not that one lap wonderkind or anything like that. He's really just a very sort of mature driver that is thinking about the whole race. He's not thinking about just the next corner. He's not thinking about just the lap that he's on, that sort of thing. He's really thinking about the entire race. I would say that's a representative result for him. A top 5 is about where I would expect Brown. Consistent top 5s is what I expect from Brown, with the occasional podium, maybe even a race win. He's got the speed to do it.
Yeah, consistently quick and quickly consistent. We've covered that one before. There's also the matter to discuss with the fastest lap bonus point. That goes to Connor Muir. He finished in 6th place, got the fastest lap. That's been confirmed, so an extra point will be added to his championship standings. So that's a great way to end his night. Leader of the alternate strategy, if you like, they're in 6th place, and sort of proved that maybe the soft tyres, maybe it was a little early to pit him, but those soft tyres still had the pace. It was just making the move stick.
Yeah, I think maybe he needed to go for the move a little bit earlier too. The softs, of course, degrade quicker than the mediums. So as each lap ticks by, it just gets harder and harder to actually make those softs work for you. And I think he just kind of got caught out on those softs at the end of the race, and they probably weren't feeling their absolute freshest. So I think if he had maybe caught up to Brown a couple laps earlier, it would have been just that little bit easier for him to make that overtake and get himself into the top 5. But as you said, from 15th to 6th, he's definitely candidate for driver of the day. And I mean, we would have to actually put it to a vote on the internet or something like that to actually get an accurate representation from the viewers and everything. But yeah, he's definitely one of the considered ones, because yeah, that's a fantastic drive.
Oh, it definitely was. And looking through the rest of the order as well, Chandler Saito, I was actually speaking to him because he was saying, Justin got my name right, and that's how we left it. But I assumed that it meant I pronounced it wrong. So hopefully Chandler's happy with me this time around. But as you were saying, an American trying his hand in esports, it's great to see that it's now pretty much becoming global, this F1 esports, and it's great to see drivers over the pond having a crack at this one.
Yeah, it's slowly but surely been getting better and better for Formula One over in America ever since Circuit of the Americas introduction in 2012. I think really having a purpose-built track here in America, especially in Texas, kind of like centrally located in the country as well, not East Coast, West Coast, none of that division. Everybody's got to fly 4 hours to get to Circuit of the Americas. So you have that great equality, which I think has really helped with bringing in more fans. Certainly the games help as well too. To have something to play at home just makes it that much easier to become a fan of the sport as well. F1 2012 was my Codemasters F1 game that helped me to learn about Formula One after a very long break from the sport of over 10 years of not keeping up with Formula One. Finally got back into it, and F1 2012 from Codemasters was played a big role in learning the new rules and learning about the new tires, the Pirellis, and how KERS worked, and back when we had a K in front of the ERS back then, learning about all those subtle nuances and stuff like that. And it's great to see finally in 2020 that we're seeing the result of all of that, of the video games and the track at Circuit of the Americas and the increase in fans in the US. And the result of that is 3 Americans in the F1 Esports Series Challengers, which I can't believe. It wasn't the best of days for them at Shanghai, I will admit that. Only one of them scoring points with Chandler Saito in 9th position, but it's just great to see them out there personally. I love seeing it. I get to be patriotic.
Yeah, and 2012, that was a pretty decent season to be getting back into interest in Formula One, wasn't it? As I recall, it was a pretty interesting season. I can't remember exactly what happened, but anyway. It was a good one. I'm kidding. But yeah, lots of great action displayed here tonight, and we get to do it all again tomorrow night with PC. But first of all, the next challenge for the Xbox drivers, they've got a whole month now. They've got the Christmas celebrations, they've got the New Year to welcome in, and then they can try and focus on, well, pretty much trying to do some laps around Zandvoort and Spielberg, because apparently that's where we're heading next.
Yeah, and very different, as we touched on yesterday, very, very different from Hanoi and Shanghai. So a totally different set of challenges that we're not super sure we're not sure what's going to happen when we get there. So that's going to be a fun one to find out about. But as you said, we got a nice long wait. They're going to have plenty of time to practice. And they don't just practice in terms of hot laps either. I would imagine, I haven't actually confirmed this with any of these drivers, but maybe I'll check in with a few of them on social media after we're all set here today. But it's very likely that a number of those drivers are actually getting together and practicing together. So, because what better way to practice than against the actual people you're going to be racing?
I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? But I know there'll be a couple of coy drivers who are sort of thinking, well, actually, I don't want to reveal my true pace out. There'll be a couple of them. There's always a couple of them. And it sounds like we're going to have the results very, very soon to be posted on the screen. And here they come now. So I assume we're going to have the first set of results coming up now. No, we have China. So we have round 2 so far. Caden Lutt, they're confirmed as the winner ahead of Miko Hautajoki and Jonas Rutten there in 3rd place, with Antoine Desaluski in 4th, Leroy Brown 5th, Connor Muir in 6th, also with that bonus point for fastest lap. That's why he gets 9 points. Erwan Lanauer in 7th place, Zach Oates in 8th, Chandler Saiter in 9th, and Christopher Parry rounding off that top 10. So obviously that, well, fastest lap bonus point counts for the top 10. If you finish inside that top 10, you will get that bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. If you finish outside of the top 10, nobody gets it. But there you can see the rest of the finishing order: Jaden Munoz, John Evans, Kenneth Lindquist, Sam McLean, Andrew Koropi, and then Sam McCabe, who did not finish this race. So that's your results from round number 2. And yeah, I think it pretty much summed up a great race in China, didn't it, Justin? It was a battle for 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and it was a battle for 4th, 5th and 6th, and then everybody else trying to scrap for those final points paying positions. It was a great race to watch.
Yeah, there was that small gap between 3rd and 4th. It was only about 2 seconds. You could just about see the battle for 4th happening in the background as we were watching the battle for the lead. So very, very close stuff, and not a drop of rain in Shanghai either for qualifying or the race. So very, very encouraging stuff. Fantastic race. That is going to do it for the results for now as well. Make sure you guys are following the Formula One Game account at Formula One Game on Twitter, on Instagram. They'll be posting the results, the final results of the Hanoi race, and also the championship standings as well. So make sure you guys get followed for all of that.
So you can see he's done this before. You can tell. He's done this before. But yes, that will do it from us tonight. Next time we're live. Well, it'll be tomorrow, 7 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, where we're here at Vietnam and China once more. But this time we get to see the PC drivers take their shape and take themselves onto the track. 16 of the fastest PC drivers we find out there. We let them loose out on track tomorrow and see who is able to fly and who can make the performances stick. But Justin, just a final word from you. PC racing tomorrow. That sounds like a date, doesn't it?
Yep, I think it'll be very similar to what we saw today and yesterday, but in 144 FPS.
Yes. Well, well, anyway,
at least on their screens. On their screens.
Yeah.
I don't know about on the stream.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be
Twitch can't handle that
fine.
yet.
Oh, Twitch will be fine. Twitch will be fine. But hopefully you can join us tomorrow, 7 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. As Justin said, don't forget to follow at Formula One Game. That's the #1 game on Twitter, where the final results will be posted later on. And I hope you could join us for tomorrow's racing as well. If the previous 2 races and the previous 2 nights have been anything to go by, you won't want to miss that Christmas cracker we have for you tomorrow. From myself, Kieran McGinley, and from Justin Sutton alongside me, please take care of yourselves out there, and we will see you tomorrow night for more of the same. Good night.